Hello, friends! Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Once upon a time, in a dense forest, lived a little squirrel named Sammy. Sammy was a playful and curious squirrel. He spent his days scampering around the trees and searching for food. But Sammy had a big problem. He couldn't stop talking. No matter what he did or where he went, he always chattered incessantly, which made it hard for him to make friends. The other animals in the forest would cover their ears and yell at him to be quiet, and when Sammy tried to apologize, they would just tell him to hush and go away. Sammy felt sad and lonely. He wanted to have friends, but his loud talking seemed to push everyone away. One day, Sammy met a wise old owl named Professor Hoots. He was sitting on a branch reading a book when Sammy began his usual non-stop chatter. "Can you please be quiet?" Professor Hoots asked politely. But Sammy couldn't help himself. He kept talking and talking and talking. Professor Hoots sighed and said, "I can help you with your loud talking, but you must do exactly what I ask." Sammy was desperate to find a solution to his problem, so he agreed to Professor Owl's plan. The first thing Professor Hoots wanted Sammy to do was to collect 10 shiny pebbles from the bottom of the river. Sammy happily set off. He loved playing in the water, but as soon as he reached the riverbank, he started chattering away. The fish in the river got scared by his loud noise and hid in the depths. Sammy wanted to find some pebbles, but without the fish, he had no luck. Sammy splashed around in the water for a while, but without the fish helping him, he couldn't find any shiny pebbles. Sammy sighed and sat down on the riverbank, feeling upset that he couldn't complete the first part of his quest. Just then, he heard a gentle voice say, "Are you all right?" Sammy turned around and saw a beautiful otter swimming towards him. "I couldn't help but notice that you seem sad," she said. Sammy hesitated, but then he explained his problem to her. The otter listened patiently and then said, "I think I can help you. I'm good friends with all the fish in the river. Maybe they can help you too." Sammy was so grateful. He thanked the otter and rushed back to the river to search for the shiny pebbles again. This time, the fish weren't scared by his loud talking. Instead, they were happy to help him. They pushed 10 shiny pebbles towards him with their noses, and Sammy collected them in a bag. "Thank you," he said to the fish and the otter. "You're welcome," they said in unison. With his quest item complete, Sammy hurried back to Professor Hoots. "Good job," the owl said with a smile. "Now it's time for the next part of your adventure. You must climb to the top of Whispering Willow and bring me back one of its feathers." Sammy frowned. Climbing the tallest tree in the forest was going to be really difficult, and he knew that the higher he climbed, the more his legs would shake, and the louder his talking would become. Sammy took a deep breath and started climbing. As he ascended, his legs began to tremble and his chatter grew louder and louder. Soon his talking was echoing throughout the forest. Suddenly, a blue jay swooped down from above and shouted, "Would you please be quiet? Your racket is giving me a headache." Sammy wanted to apologize, but the blue jay cut him off and flew away. Sammy felt terrible. He knew his loud talking was ruining everything. Just then, he heard a familiar voice say, "Cheer up, Sammy." He turned around and saw the otter swimming up the riverbank. "I heard you talking to that blue jay and I couldn't help but overhear your loud chatter. It's okay. I have an idea that might help." She explained her plan, and Sammy was hopeful that it just might work. Sammy went back to the tree and took a deep breath. He closed his eyes, remembering what the otter had told him. When he was ready, he started climbing again. This time he focused on each movement, taking his time and staying as still as possible. As he ascended, he could hear the blue jay squawking angrily below him, but Sammy didn't respond. When he finally reached the top of the tree, Sammy carefully plucked a feather from Whispering Willow and started his journey back down. All the animals he passed by were shocked to see him being so quiet. The blue jay flew up to him and asked, "What happened to your loud talking?" Sammy smiled and said, It's a surprise. He raced back to Professor Hoots and presented the owl with the feather. Well done, the professor said. Only one more thing to do. Go to the top of Boulder Hill and bring me back a stone from its peak. Sammy nodded and started his hike. As he climbed higher and higher, he could feel his excitement building. Reaching the top of Boulder Hill was going to be amazing, and when he got there, he would finally have a chance to show everyone how much he'd improved. But as he walked along the narrow path leading to the peak, Sammy began to feel a little nervous. What if his talking started again? What if he couldn't control himself? Just then, he heard a voice say, "Don't worry, Sammy. You'll be fine." He turned around and saw the wise old owl flying towards him. "I followed you here," he said, "and I've been watching you on your quest. You've done so well. I know you can do this." Sammy took a deep breath and continued his hike. When he finally reached the top of Boulder Hill, Sammy looked out at the beautiful view and felt a sense of accomplishment. He picked up a stone and started his journey back down. As he walked along the same narrow path he had taken earlier, Sammy began to feel his excitement building again. He couldn't wait to show everyone how much he'd improved. When he got back to Professor Hoots, he proudly presented the owl with the stone. "You did it, Sammy," the owl said with a smile. "You've completed the quest." Sammy was so happy. He couldn't believe he had actually done it. He had stayed quiet and calm during the whole adventure. But when he looked around, he noticed that none of the other animals were there. "Where did they go?" he asked the owl. "They all went to my clearing," Professor Hoots replied. "They were waiting for you to finish your quest so you could tell them about your adventure." Sammy's heart sank. He had worked so hard to stay quiet, and now his loud talking would ruin everything. Just then, the otter swam up to him and whispered, "Don't worry, Sammy. You're about to learn something very important about yourself." She led him to the clearing where all the animals were waiting, and as Sammy entered, they all gasped in surprise. "I can't believe you stayed so quiet on your quest," the blue jay said in amazement. "Me neither," Sammy replied. "I thought I couldn't do it, but I found out that I can be still and listen to others if I try really hard." The animals nodded, understanding that sometimes it was important to let others talk, so they could learn and grow too. Sammy beamed with pride. He had learned so much on his adventure, and he was happy to share his wisdom with the others. From that day on, Sammy wasn't completely quiet. He still loved to talk, but now he was much more aware of when to be still and listen to others. He made many new friends and became an even happier squirrel. The animals in the forest learned that it was okay for Sammy to talk, as long as he was respectful and gave everyone a chance to speak too. And so life in the forest continued, filled with the sound of Sammy's happy chatter and the laughter of all his new friends. The end. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this adventure of Sammy the Squirrel, then don't forget to like this video. Also share your ideas for future adventures. See you soon. Bye-bye.